Good day, viewers, and welcome to Al'umma Television News from News and Current Affairs. My name is Isma'Il Tukur Kaura. First, the headlines. Dauda Lawandere arrives Gusau ahead of 2023 campaign. Zamfara State Internal Revenue Board depend its 2023 budget. Governor Pinturi of Adamawa State escaped death. INEC trained journalists on election coverage. Governor Adeleke praises Osun government account fire Otodolas appointees. Now the news in details. A chieftain of People Democratic Party (PDP), Dr. Lawan Dare, has arrived Gusau of Zamfara State capital and was received by thousands of party supporters. He arrived on Sunday afternoon through Sultan Abubakar Nauku International Airport, Sokoto. He made a brief stop over at Mapara town where he sympathized with the families of Ambassador Captain Bala Meriga, retired, over his recent imprisonment by Zamfara State government. Our correspondent Yahya Buhari Bungudu was there and compiled the report read by Khadija Sani Ibrahim.
Dr. Dauda Lawan has informed thousands of his supporters in Gusau that he will solve the challenge militating against the state if elected as governor in 2023. Before he arrived Gusau, he has received a warm welcome at Talata Mafara, Bakura, Maru and Bungudu. At Talata Mafara, he visited the family of Captain Bala Meriga, retired, who is currently at Gusau Medium Correctional Center, where he sympathized with them and gave them a donation of 1 million naira. Expressing her gratitude on behalf of his family, his senior wife, Hajia Jamila Bala Meriga, thanked the VDP chieftain for the donation. He similarly paid a condolence visit to the family of late Malam Mayadi, who died recently, where he donated the sum of 500,000 naira. On his part, a House of Representative member representing the area, Kabir Yahya Classes, has donated the sum of 500,000 naira. That has been the report. Khadija Sani Ibrahim, Al-Umma News.
Governor Aminu Masari of Katsina State has told participants of senior course 45 of the Armed Forces Command Staff College, Jaji, who are on study tour of the state, that majority of Nigerian youth often abandoned the opportunity to pursue education foundation afforded them through learning skill for self-reliance. He further alleged that majority of the youth involved in banditry were below the age of 35 and lacked the education training that can prepare them to become responsible citizens. The governor also identified climate change as another factor that affects farming activities that could have engaged more youth, adding that the discovery of petroleum in the country has worsened the situation with lesser attention to agriculture by the first leaders. Masari therefore called for special attention to the education and agriculture as a step to curtailing idleness among the teeming youth. In his remark, the leader of the delegation, who doubled as the director coordination of the college, Brigadier General Mohammed Nuruddin, said the delegation was one of the 8 teams currently on study tour of some selected state. He said the tour was part of his this year Armed Forces Command and Staff College Nigerian Environmental Study Tour for senior courses. The executive chairman of Zamfara Board of Internal Revenue, Ali Akilu Dama, and management staff of the board have appeared before the State House of Assembly Committee on Finance for the 2023 budget defense. Governor Watawale had on November 17 presented 188.8 billion as the 2023 appropriation bill to the State House of Assembly for consideration and the passage. The Zamfara State Board of Internal Revenue generated revenue is a state-owned revenue-generated agency. Defending the budget before the House Committee on Finance, Isma'Il expressed confidence that the agency will do justice to its budget for the development and the progress of the state. Our correspondent Ibrahim Abdul Malik completes the report.
While commending tireless effort of Matawale administration in changing the narrative of Zamfara state, Akilu Dama said the agency under his watch will not relent. The Zamfara Board of Internal Revenue Service boss added that complying with tax law will help the board achieve its desired goals of generating revenue to the state. Mr. Dama also expressed dismay over the attitude of some agencies in paying their taxes as at when due. Chairman of the committee, Shamsundin Bosco, assures of the committee's support and cooperation to all agencies while following due process based on revenue consolidated law. Zamfara State Board of Internal Revenue, under its management and revenue generation in recent times, the agency has been described as one of the best state-owned internal revenue agency. Budget defense of the year 2023 is still ongoing at the Zamfara State House of Assembly. That has been the report. Ibrahim Abdul Malik.
You are watching the news from News and Current Affairs, Aluma television station, Gusau. Before we go on break, let us remind you of some of our headlines. Zamfara State Internal Revenue Board defend its 2023 budget. PDP gubernatorial candidate arrived Gusau ahead of 2023 campaign. INEC trained journalists on election coverage. Governor Pinturi of Adamawa State escaped death. Masari blamed youth resistiveness on poor attention to basic education. In part 2, when we return, Governor Adeleke praises Osun government account via Oyotidila appointees. Indian man burned himself to death in language protest. President Buhari mourned veteran journalist Bashir Mohammed Baba. We'll be right back.
Al'umma TV nagari na kowa.
Welcome back. Ahead of 2023 general election, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in collaboration with the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, has trained reporters on how to avoid complete sensitive reporting at the forthcoming general election. A one-day capacity building training held in Bauchi State. A one-day capacity building training held in Bauchi State with the Northeast reporters. The national president of NUJ, Chris Isigwozu, presented by the national secretary, Mr. Shaibu Liman, urges journalists to be more committed to keeping to the ethical standard of the news reporting during election. Presenting a paper on the media in the conduct of peaceful election, Isigwozu advised that the media should report election activities in line with the electoral guidelines and laws while uploading ethical standards. According to him, journalists should exercise restraint while casting headlines and be wary of breaking news capable of jeopardizing their credibility. The workshop, which had over 30 journalist participants, also had in attendance Mrs. Halita Raje, the head of legal service, the Bauchi State Union NUJ chairman, Comrade Umar Saidu, and a national ex-officio, Mr. Abakar Musa Waziri, and zonal secretary, Northeast Sport Writers Association, Mr. Nasir Abdullahi Koki. The newly sworn-in governor of Osun State, Mr. Adeleke, reverses all appointees by his predecessor made from July 7, 2022. Adeleke said he would raise a committee to review all appointments and make recommendations. Oyetola appointed 30 permanent secretary hours to the end of his tenure. Adeleke has also revised the Osun appellation from the state of the Bachu to the state of Living Spring. Speaking after taking his oath of office at the Oshobo City Stadium, Adeleke said he was aware of the expectation of Osun residents, promising not to disappoint them. He also promised to transform education, security, healthcare, infrastructure, local government administration, judiciary, public service, among others. Governor Ahmadu Pintri of Adamawa State on Sunday narrowly escaped death by the whiskers as a truck crushes two vehicles in his convoy. An eyewitness said the incident happened shortly after Pintri and some of his commissioners boarded a black Mercedes bus at the end of wedding which took place at Agamox in Dogiri area of the state capital. The truck rolled down the steep road and crushed two vehicles in the convoy of Adamawa State Governor. It was further gathered that the truck suddenly moved toward Governor Pintri convoy at a higher speed, an indication that its driver had lost control. Two policemen attached to the security team of the governor, namely Inspector Mohd and Sergeant Isa, were not lucky as they sustained some injuries. President Muhammadu Buhari has mourned veteran journalist Bashir Muhammad Baba. The president, in a statement issued on Saturday by his media aide Malam Garba Shehu, described the deceased as a dedicated broadcaster who had made a name for himself by sheer hard work and commitment to excellence. President Buhari said the late Bashir Baba, who distinguished himself in his teaching profession, described the accolade found his good record. He died in the early hour of Saturday in Abuja as a result of injuries from complication from domestic accident in his bedroom. Bashir Baba, an experienced journalist of over 4 decades who began in the NTA, is one of the analysts of BBC, BOA, DW Radio, as well as Prestige Radio Mina flagship program Kasar Mu a Yau, as well as Idon Mikiya program of Parunwata Television and Vision FM. An octogenarian man burned himself to death in southern India in protest at what he called New Delhi attempt to impose nationwide uses of Hindi. Language is an emotive issue in India where hundreds of languages and dialects are spoken, but English serves as the main official medium while state government use regional languages. According to the most recent census in 2011, fewer than half of Indian citizens speak Hindi, just under 44%. But last month, a group of parliamentarians headed by powerful Interior Minister Amit Shah reportedly recommended making Hindi the national official language, including for technical education such as medicine and engineering. That's the end of the news from Aluma Television. But before we go, let's quick remind you of our major headlines. PDP gubernatorial candidate arrives Gusau ahead of 2023 campaign. Zamfara State Internal Revenue Board depend its 2023 budget. Governor Pintri of Adamawa State escaped death. INEC trained journalists on election coverage. Governor Adeleke praises Osun government account fire Oyetodola appointees. Governor Masari blames youth resistiveness on poor attention to basic education. President Muhammadu Buhari mourned veteran journalist Bashir Muhammad Baba. Indian man burned himself to death in language protest. Be a patriotic citizen and report any suspicious movement around you. On behalf of the production crew, I am Isma'Il Tukur saying bye for now.